Hey, hey. Can't hear you.
Check,
Is
check,
that not
check.
me? Here we go.
That's me.
There you are.
Yeah. How'd the intro sound on your end? Was it clean?
Perfect. Beautiful.
Okay.
Why
Cool.
that's everything sounds perfect on this show. What do you mean?
Yeah. No, I
This
got
is
50 tabs open, and
this is a sonic
from
masterpiece, bro.
Yeah.
Every week we bring the people a sonic masterpiece. What are you asking me? No, we think we got the audio stuff figured out.
Mhm.
I should sound the way I should sound. You sound great. I think we're good.
Okay.
The world, on the other hand, is not great.
Mhm.
And the sound you're going to be hearing soon is like more bombs dropping. But we'll get to that.
Mhm.
What do you want to talk about? Is there
There's a
anything
lot
going
of
on in politics?
there's Indiana had another victory. Kurt
Oh,
Signetti.
dude,
Yeah.
10-0, bro.
I know.
It's sick.
This one was close too.
This was the closest game, and they won by 5
Yeah.
points over Michigan.
Yeah.
No, Indiana's the team of the year. Well, Colorado's the other team of the year. By the way, we haven't talked about that. I cried on camera last year over Colorado Buffaloes and Deion Sanders. And look what happened. They were terrible last year, and I was embarrassed to be emotionally pulled by Mr. Deion. This year they are winning big time. They're actually the top of their conference and could even compete for the championship. So there you go. I'm gonna cry again pretty soon if they go all the way. No one cares about college football, dude. Let's move on.
Well, 500 people cared enough to write in Kurt Signetti on their ballot.
True.
For president. Yeah.
My favorite football analyst called on everyone to do that on Twitter.
Wow.
Stucky, my dude. Yeah. So yeah, it's a thing. And God, wouldn't it be great? When he said that, I thought, God, wouldn't it be great if I lived in a world in which the most controversial things are about sports? In which the greatest anger expressed against one's enemies are, before the big game. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why I love sports, is because we get all hot and bothered sort of only at this very superficial level about stuff that we all know deep down is really trivial and insignificant. Sports fans, I think, for the most part, know that. And so it never becomes a serious thing, unlike in politics where we all hate each other and spend all day being angry at people, often angry at friends of ours. Like, the last few days for me, I've been a little pissed at friends of mine, former friends at this point. First it was all the pro-Israel sycophants calling for killing more children in Gaza, friends of mine. And now it's all these, I've been pretty cozy with the Trump movement for the last several years. I mean, with a couple of hiccups, but certainly for most of the last few years, I've had multiple MAGA people on my show. I've had members of his cabinet on my show. I've had many people who are ardent Trump supporters on my show, and I've vocally, publicly, consistently supported them and defended MAGA and Trump since 2015. I've rarely said a negative thing and almost always defend them. Even though I've never voted for them, I never would vote for them. I, of course, am opposed fundamentally to major portions of their platform. But they were always getting railroaded, obviously, by the establishment. And they often, I thought, posed a truly radical challenge, at least intellectually, to the ruling class, to the whatever you want to call them, the Democrats and the Republicans and the universities and the media, the people who run the country. Definitely. I mean, it was the first time we saw a major political movement in this country do that, like really call into question the major tenets, the presumptions of America today, the American empire, certainly a bit of the way America operates business. First time, Trump, MAGA, were asking things about America's place in the world, NATO, regime change wars, etc. They were asking questions about immigration. I don't like their answer, but they were asking fundamental questions. that no one was dealing with for years and years and years. I'm on the other side, but yeah, it's a real question as to who do we let in, when do we let them in, and why are we letting them in? Of course, the entire identity politics, left-wing apparatus of American political discourse, they didn't call into question. They attacked full bore, and that's where everybody on our side, politics agrees that wokeness is horrendous and needs to go. And so certainly the Trump movement, MAGA, was at the forefront of that. And they were the ones with the teeth, and now they certainly have the teeth, the state power, the institutional power to do something about it. I've been defending these people, this movement and that guy, for going on 10 years now, consistently. And you can look it up. You can see me. I mean, J6, I was basically the only person who wasn't a MAGA supporter who's been saying since the jump, since the beginning, that they were railroaded and should be released tomorrow. Had a pre-J6er on my show, one of the people who was arrested and put in jail for 1.5 years for allegedly plotting to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer. Brandon Caserta, he was on my show, and I'm 100% on the side of the J6ers, even though their politics, much of their politics, I'm not a fan of. But boy, and so I had still quite a few connections, and even many of the people we brought to Icarus Fest and bring to Icarus Fest are MAGA types, sort of leaders of the cultural movement, the MAGA cultural movement. I'm not going to name them, but I think people can figure out who that is. And in recent days, I had some of those people, in fact, one of our speakers at Icarus Fest, I'm not going to name him either, yell at me on Twitter for saying that a vote for either Harris or Trump is a vote to kill more children. And I'm sorry to be all moralistic and reductive, but I'm going to be moralistic and reductive when, our government is killing scores of children every day, and nothing is being done to stop that. There's a house on fire and the house is full of children who are dying in the fire. Like, don't we all stop business in town and all rush to the scene of the fire to do whatever we can to put out the fire immediately? And that's all we should think about until that. Yes. Boy. So in the last few days, there's been a whole lot of shaming and yelling and from Trump people at me and people like me who refuse to vote for him, even though we thought, and even I thought before the election, that there was about a 20% chance he would be better on big foreign policy issues. Even on Israel, as I said last week, my prediction then was that he was going to make a trade with Netanyahu, which could still happen. A trade in which Israel stops the killing in Gaza, and the U.S. supports Israel in bombing Iran, which is what they all really want. So I actually thought the Palestinians would have be granted a temporary reprieve because of that. And this could still happen, by the way, and I still think there's about a 50% chance this will happen, even though he has appointed the most maniacal Zionists on the planet. And I mean, even inside of Israel, these people would be extremists. Mike Huckabee and this guy, Pete Hegseth, the stuff they have said about Israel, and everything being justified in biblical terms. It's wild, but we'll get to that in a second. Yeah, I mean, I did think, despite that he had all these close ties with hardcore Zionists, even before then, I did think he was going to make that deal. And I thought the Palestinians would have be granted a temporary reprieve as a part of Trump's deal with Netanyahu. Again, this still might happen, even though his cabinet will be full of absolute lunatic Zionists, but Trump will have the upper hand. And I have heard from pretty smart people that these horrendous appointments actually signal something possibly positive, which is that in his first administration, he, of course, appointed all these similar, almost as neocon and hawkish types to his cabinet, and then they proceeded to subvert him in multiple ways over the next 4 years. And the biggest one, the most famous one, was when I think it was a general, one of his generals refused to take his orders to withdraw troops from Syria and just ignored the orders and continued to deploy troops in Syria. Incredible. Yeah.
He told him that he was withdrawing troops, and then he just lied about it. It's moved. Yeah.
And all sorts of subversions were going on. The leaks, my God, remember the leaks the first year, I think it was, like every single day there were people inside the Trump cabinet who were leaking things. Mm-hmm. That's not going to happen this time. Marco Rubio will be the Secretary of State. It's just, from anybody's perspective, including MAGA's perspective, because remember, Marco Rubio was Trump's number one enemy just a few years ago. And this is a horrendous disappointment, but you know one thing. Marco Rubio will not try to subvert Trump. Because Marco Rubio is little Marco, and he knows he's little Marco, and he knows why he's in the position he's in. And he's also basically announced for the last several years that he's willing to do anything to get Donald Trump's, favor. So Pete Hegseth, the hot boy from Fox News, from Fox and Friends, who has zero experience in government, who's going to be the Secretary of Defense. Do you think he's going to try to subvert Donald Trump, the president who put him in that position? No. And I think the more astute observers have noticed this, that the people he's choosing, even though they are grotesque neocons to a person, Elise Stefanik is another one, Mike Waltz, NSA, National Security Advisor, who's just like a third tier Congress dude from Florida, who's been America First loyalist from the beginning. I should say a Trump loyalist from the beginning. They're not going to challenge Trump. Now, so that means whatever Trump wants will happen in large strokes, broad strokes of policy, I think, and foreign policy. Not that he's going to be in charge of any of the details, certainly, but whether or not to go to war with Iran, for instance, I think that'll be Trump's decision and his alone. Now, he will be influenced by these people, but man, the people who have been yelling at me, and yelling at not just me, in fact, it's been sort of light on me, but just yelling in general and urging all of us to vote for Trump, who are libertarians or paleoconservatives or, dissident right-wingers, anti-government, pro-freedom people who have recently decided that you must vote for Trump. And if you don't, you're pretty evil because you're just supporting Kamala, et cetera, and the Democrats. What am I going to say? I was either going to say something about there being a bucket of dicks out there, or I was going to say that you all should really think again. And I don't need an apology, and I don't want an apology. I just want you all to admit that you all look exactly like the Obama supporters of 2008, who said, "Oh, no, Barack, he's so cool. First of all, God, he's so cool." And I go to all his rallies and I put his face on my t-shirt and I love him. Remember that? Cult of personality around Barack Obama. And he said that one thing about Iraq being a dumb war. And therefore he's not going to continue the war, Thad. And you're racist for not voting for him. And he hates war because he's one of us. He's one of us. He hates war. He's not going to continue the wars or expand the wars or drop bombs on people's heads from drones. No, because he's one of us. He's our guy. And he said that one thing about Iraq. Yeah, y'all are reminding me exactly of those people. Exactly. Isn't it funny how the exact same thing is played out? For about a year now, all you anti-war libertarians, you invite him to your fucking convention, and all you get from him is a promise to release one person from prison, and I'm all for that, okay? I've been on the Ross Ulbricht campaign for about a decade now, did a whole event in Los Angeles about it. I promoted the documentary about Ross and all of it. Of course, but he's one person, and Iran is a country of millions. So you exchanged the freedom of Ross Ulbricht for probably, and by the way, this is every analyst talking in the last few days, almost certainly we're going to kill a bunch of Iranians real soon. Almost certainly. Unclear what's going to happen in Gaza. Unclear whether the United States can do anything against the China, even though, of course, all the Trump people would love to drop a nuke on China. I don't think they can. But Iran, all the analysts are saying now that Iran is the most in danger. Because Trump in his first term, and everybody he put in his cabinet in his first term, they were all primarily anti-Iran hawks. And this time, they're not just anti-Iran hawks, they're anti-Iran Christian evangelical maniacs. Have we all seen the clips of Pete Hegseth talking about Israel, Islam, the chosen people, God's will in the Middle East? Have we seen the videos of Mike Huckabee, now the ambassador to Israel, talking about how it was God's plan to make Israel great and how there is no such thing as a West Bank? There's no such thing as Palestinians, he has said. Pure genocidal stuff. I mean, stuff that in Israel would be right-wing craziness. That's who's in the government. I don't... The people who have been telling me that I should vote for this...
It's hard to hear you because you're trapped in a crystal right now, and you're... because you didn't conform, your opinion doesn't matter. You're just in this crystal, locked in there forever. Your decisions no longer matter.
I'm just like...
Yeah.
Like this forever.
Yeah, exactly.
Like one of those fucking memes, whatever. I guess it's a video games. Is that what those? I hate those alt-right memes. The NPC, apparently, I try to avoid video games, unlike everybody who's on the alt-right. Oh my God. All right. So I think that the MAGA movement is done. That's it. No, really. Like, we're done. It's over. How can it have any credibility now?
I think so there's a big difference from these neocons and the old neocons. Your Mike Pompeo's, your John Bolton's, and even Nikki Haley. Those neocons were backstabbers. Those neocons were boomers. And these neocons are younger, and they're loyalists. And their task that they are assigned to might not necessarily be going behind Trump's back and starting wars. I think Hegseth's role will be to revitalize the military and get recruitment back up, and reform that institution that way. I think Mike Huckabee's role will be just to go on vacation all the time to Israel and have nice dinners with Netanyahu.
Seriously, everybody, I didn't know, and I've been in a green room with Mike Huckabee in the Fox News studios. I mean, I've kind of met him, and I certainly have been following him for, 20 years now. Even I was kind of shocked by what he has said about Israel. I didn't know that he's in love with the place. He's been going there every year since 1973. He's traveled there like 100 times or something. And it's all straight up biblical. He really represents the whole Christian evangelical Zionist thing. But anyway, sorry. Okay. So I get it. He's like, I get that he probably is just a sop to Netanyahu and the Israelis, right? Saying, oh, look, we're sending your favorite boy, okay, as our ambassador. Okay. So we love you. Just know that. And I'm hoping, again, this is what I've been hoping for a couple of weeks now, that Trump will use that as leverage to make a deal to get a ceasefire. It's possible. I mean, I said it's a 50% chance. Hegseth, I think you're right. I think you're mostly right. I think his primary duty is he wrote a book about this, and that's why Trump appointed him, I'm sure, to de-wokeify the military, which bothers Trump tremendously. It bothers most people. I mean, I don't care because I don't care too much about the U.S. military, but I mean, we have so much military. Who cares if 1/4 of it's woke? I mean, as long as I think they're capable of defending me. I'm not worried about that. But I think Hegseth will primarily do that to get recruitment up. And he's a great poster child for that too. Sexy dude, served in Iraq. He can be on the posters and get 20-year-old guys to sign up, I guess. We'll see. But my God, the dude's a maniac. He's an absolute maniac. And so that if Trump one day wakes up and Ivanka looks him in the eye and says, "Do you know what Iran just did?" Whatever it is. "Dad, these people, you have to go today. We have to launch today." We know that Ivanka has done that with Trump in the past. He did 180s on several policies because Ivanka just talked to him and convinced him. Mm-hmm. Jared Kushner is right there, and Jared Kushner wants to kill everybody who's brown and not Jewish in the Middle East. And I'm not really exaggerating. I mean, that sounds like hyperbole, but in terms of every single policy, every single statement out of that little boy's mouth, of course. And if you look at most Israelis, and he speaks for them now, I mean, we know this from public opinion polls, from major podcasts coming out of Israel. They're all genocidal. Like, they would really rather the Arabs all die. They just would. And I would too, if I were one of them. I get it. But that's who Hegseth is. And so that if Trump wakes up one morning with his mercurial self thinking that, "Oh shit, man, Iran just did this really bad thing. I got to do something now," it could happen in a moment. He will get no pushback, is my point, from Hegseth. So, or Marco Rubio in the State Department. I mean, those cats, they won't say a word to the man. They'll do whatever he's feeling like that day. And so that could be good, and it could be terrible. Trump, thank God, has an actual, some kind of anti-war instinct. I don't know why he appoints these people, but given that, I do think he does. I guess he's just confused and maybe ignorant, but and so from what I can tell, Marco Rubio, Pete Hegseth, and everybody in his cabinet does not have an anti-war instinct at all, right? They have nothing but pro-war instinct. So maybe this will work out. Maybe the anti-war instinct in the executive, in a cabinet full of just minions, subservient minions, will rule the day, and we will have peace. How about that?
I think Trump's motivation for these appointments is survival. He doesn't want to get killed or Watergated. And he also wants to pay back Miriam Adelson for that $100 million. I don't think this is a sign that we should reject playing into the system and voting and participating in partisan politics. I think this is a sign that we should become billionaires and write our own $100 million checks to campaigns to buy out this influence. The reason why they win is because they have Miriam Adelson's buying $100 million of influence. And our best hope is to red pill Elon at this point, or red pill the donors, or become a donor ourselves.
All right. So that suggests, and you might be right, but you are suggesting that Trump and the people around him, I guess, are primarily motivated by non-ideological interests.
Mm-hmm. I think
maybe you're right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Also, the vision of this is like make America great again, right? Like the military under Biden has been a complete embarrassment. Fair?
Well, I mean, sure. I get, yes, from the perspective of most Americans, yes, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
You mean like the woke stuff, like the trans generals and stuff like that? Like
the trans generals, the apologizing and self-flagellating generals who hate themselves for being white.
The guy in the dog mask, the
Yeah.
general, and was that real? Was there really
Yeah.
a furry in in the military press? And then
Mhm.
Rachel Levine, is that her name?
Yeah.
Her name?
Mhm.
Mhm. Right. Is that what you mean?
That's part of it.
Afghanistan.
That's a big Afghanistan. There we go.
Big embarrassment.
Big, huge, giant embarrassment.
Well, then there was the whole like Iraq war, kind of
Mhm.
embarrassing, you
Yeah.
know. And then before that, there was like this Vietnam war, kind of embarrassing.
Mhm.
So yeah, they've been embarrassed a lot, but yeah.
Yeah. But if you're, let's say, President Xi or President Putin or one of
Mhm.
our adversaries, you look at the position that the United States is in, and you say, "Oh, they don't have an army. They don't have any capabilities to pull anything off. They have no leadership. So might as well invade Taiwan, might as well invade Ukraine because there's going to be no pushback for it." So I think what this is reestablishing that the good guys are in charge. The good guys have big guns and they're big masculine men and they're young and they're competent and the United States is in charge again and you better not cross us. And this is the stick that is the peace through strength that kept interventions from happening during the first Trump administration.
So do you know what W.E.B. Du Bois said about people like you?
Just white people, or
He called it the wages of whiteness, Michael.
the wages of whiteness.
The wages of whiteness. Yes. So what happens is that you get all the benefits and privileges of being white in our society. In exchange, you offer your allegiance and loyalty to the white ruling class. And you will just kowtow to whatever they say. You'll sign up for their damn wars. You'll probably send your son to their wars too, because you get all the benefits of being a white man in the United States, and that's why you just said what you just said. But it was pretty smart though. So let's think. One could argue, I suppose, that that's essentially, you just described what did happen in his first administration. That mostly is that the basis for what you're saying here? Because that's all I think of the only basis you would have. But that's a good one.
Yeah.
It's a good basis. It's 4 years of actual experience. Okay. The thing that fair. But the thing that worries me is that, as I said, the restraints are largely off of Trump now. That dude was shackled in this first administration by his own cabinet, who, as I said, were subverting him, and of course by the entire rest of the universe, which was all day, every day trying to take him down. And by the way, that's including most of the people who are currently supporting him and in his new administration. So he couldn't really do anything at all. Plus, he didn't control both houses of the Congress then. Now he's got what's standing in his way, really, other than like the New York Times and NPR screaming about white supremacy, which no one seems to care about anymore. He's got a pretty good mandate. I mean, it wasn't a landslide, but it was a broad-based, solid victory, which showed gains in every demographic, which means as we said last week, he's gained legitimacy across the board in America. So I don't see him being stopped. And again, I don't know exactly if he wants to go to war with Iran or not, like direct war, like boots on the ground war, like sustained bombing campaigns war, or if he just wants to, help Israel do its bombing of Iran, which who knows? I mean, if they bomb Tehran, it's a huge country. It's much bigger than Iraq. People don't realize this. A full war with Iran is a bigger war than the war with Iraq. And for what exactly? These people don't pose one piece of threat to us at all. We'll see, man. I hope so. You think he's going to make deals? Is that how he's going to do peace?
Well, again, the start of this is peace through strength. Like, so the big question is, what happens if China invades Taiwan? Well, right now, I think what he's doing is building up America so it looks as big, as strong, and as possible, so that China doesn't invade Taiwan, so that leaders do that risk assessment and say, you know what, I'm not going to cross the empire yet.
So, I mean, yeah, I know you know this, but like that kind of thinking just sort of forgets that Taiwan is legally part of China and that the United States' own policy is that Taiwan is legally part of China. So not that I don't ever want any government to use force really against anybody for any reason, but like why would we as a country want to even be involved in that dispute, that conflict? You know? So like, I'm sorry, this has been the last couple of days, I gotta say, this is in some ways more deeply disturbing and infuriating than like the betrayal by my liberal friends 16 years ago. Then I don't know. There's something. This is really bad. But I guess you're saying.
I think it's important that we don't criticize Trump at all. That we be complete sycophants towards him at least through June. Like,
what's in June?
Just 6 months. Just give him 6 months of actually running the country, and
that's when Tehran. That's when Tehran will be smoking ruins, and they will be stacking bodies of dead children in Gaza by then. Like I guess I don't like. All right, it's 5D chess. Here it goes. And this is kind of maybe what you're saying. I'm going to put up the craziest looking motherfuckers as my cabinet. Freak everybody out, which this actually does make sense in Trump's mind, right? Scare everybody. And I don't mean like the liberals and the peacenik podcasters, you know, from Berkeley, but like the world, which is legit. You know, I mean, Iran, and I hate to say it, but like people have been saying that Iran has softened its stance already. Like they're calling for talks with Trump right away.
Yeah.
Because they're scared of him. And you know, again, I'd rather not play that game, but in the moment, yes, that's, I'm sure, true. I would be scared if I were in Iran. Depends on what you do with that, right? Depends on what you do with the fear you have engendered in other countries. And you're right, in his first term, he didn't start any new wars. He engendered a lot of fear around the world, but no new wars started. And he had direct one-on-one talks with all the scary dictators, which is what I want.
That's his campaign promise. That's basically what he's running on, is peace through strength.
Well, no, but diplomacy.
Yeah.
Like one-on-one, like direct diplomacy. You know, we have not had, I don't think a single American official has spoken to a Russian official in 4 years now. Which is probably the most dangerous thing. Like that is the surest way to get a nuclear war, is to cut off communication. So that's good. But like, oh man. Okay, so he's putting up these freaks, these maniacs, to scare everybody, to gain leverage in negotiations and diplomacy, is the theory here, right? So it's kind of good cop, bad cop.
Yeah.
In a way, is the idea here that Trump's playing. We don't know if he's thinking this. We hope he is. I hope he's thinking this. I'm going to put up these bad cops, scare everybody. Then I'm going to come in a couple of weeks later, have a one-on-one sit down with Vladimir or Xi, or the Ayatollah. Maybe. Can't see that, but something like that. And then I'll say, listen, you either deal with them, the crazies in my military and my cabinet who want to bomb the shit out of you, or Donald Trump, you make a deal with me now, which will get some peace maybe for short term. He'll never make a deal that will make any long-term structural change, right? But that's okay. I mean, it's okay enough. I will take short-term peace at this point. And I think that's possible. Is that what your good cop, bad cop strategy you think he's playing?
Yeah, totally. Well, I think
Damn.
his goal, I think he wants, and he's been explicit that he wants peace in the world. I think he'd see going to war with Iran as a failure. I think he'd see it that way. And I think the first step is to have actual leverage on your side when you come to the negotiating table, which is a military that actually works, a military that follows your orders, and a military that, if left unchecked, will go right back to being the America we know and love, conquering the world. Or maybe, here's an idea, world leaders will suddenly develop a moral conscience and they'll just stop killing because killing is wrong. Maybe that'll one day happen.
Wait a minute. Okay. Oh, fuck.
Maybe if we all play Pete Seeger records loud enough and light ourselves on fire, maybe then they'll stop killing.
That, what you just said is so wrong in so many ways. I just don't even know how to unpack that. First of all, Pete Seeger was a communist who I've denounced publicly. All right. So I'm not a Pete Seeger guy. Second of all, and this is the most egregious thing, Weimer, that you just said, you seem to presume that the problem is that there's all these world leaders out there who kill people. That's the problem? Or is it the problem that the United States of America has military bases in 200 countries? What, isn't that the issue? Don't we, the military bases, man? Why do we not talk about this? 200 countries, basically almost every country on earth, except for the 7 who are our adversaries. We have military bases all over the goddamn world. We have the biggest military budget, biggest military ever in human history. Why? Don't you think that's the problem? Rather than, bad people supposedly out there who like to kill people. And by the way, I haven't seen, still to this day, I've seen zero evidence of any sort of world leader, certainly in my lifetime, who's any more murderous than Americans, who I should be worried about. But don't we? Okay. You want to take the Reaganite peace through strength approach, which Trump is reinventing, right? Okay, yeah. I get it. Yeah. And you're thinking that's the more direct way to peace.
Yeah, than
anything else, maybe. Than anything else?
That's the only thing that I see actually working. I see peaceniks don't really get in positions of political power. And first you need power before you execute a plan, and you need to also, our dollar is totally secured by war and the global order, and do you really want to stop going to war? Based off of what it'll do to the economy and all that, but there's so much riding on the system as it is.
Just trying to breathe here.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So Michael Weimer, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Why did communism end in Eastern Europe? Why did the Soviet Union fall? Was it because of Ronald Reagan?
Because they spread themselves thin? Is that what you're getting at? That they had bases everywhere, that the Soviets outspent themselves, and there was popular uprisings?
Because the people in Russia liked rock and roll more than communism. They chose to leave communism. It was a bloodless revolution, which tells you, that's all you need to know, that it was a truly popular revolution, meaning violence was obviated by the fact that the vast majority of people didn't want communism anymore, because communism sucks. I was there. I was in the Soviet Union in 1987 And you would go into the fanciest department store in Moscow, which was called GUM at the time, and the central display was for cans of tuna fish. It was, they lived in relative state of deprivation relative to the West, and they wanted to live like the West. Now they do live like the West, but then that's why they left communism, not because of anything the United States or Ronald Reagan or the 82nd Airborne did. Don't you think?
I think the Soviet Union needed a strong adversary throughout the whole Cold War. Otherwise, they wouldn't have spent themselves into oblivion. Yeah. And I think those proxy wars might have actually paid off. I think,
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I really do have to finish this book now because you need to read it. It's just, you really need to read it. No, dude, no, completely wrong. I mean, my argument is, I'm not saying that you're like absolutely wrong. I'm just saying my argument says that you're wrong. No, my argument and my reading of this stuff over a long time is that no, it's that every bit, in fact, of U.S. military buildup and aggression and forward posturing simply brought blowback. And that the actual subversion of totalitarianism inside countries like the Soviet Union and in Iran and in China have come from the people who have simply watched American videos of chicks in bikinis dancing to pop music. I'm not kidding. That's not an exaggeration. That's the humongous problem for the mullahs in Iran, for the commissars in the Soviet Union, for the commissars in China. They hate that stuff. American pop culture and American ways of living, Western ways of living, the idea of personal freedom, horrific. And it subverts everything. And we now know that most people in Iran love watching videos way more than they love Islam, not just the women. And we know this certainly in the Soviet Union. Huge thing in the Soviet Union. Rock and roll, blue jeans, McDonald's. When I walked into Red Square in 1987, April 1987, I was besieged, as every American tourist was at the time, besieged by all these Soviet teenagers who were begging me to trade for my blue jeans. And I ended up getting like a full-on Soviet military outfit in exchange for one pair of blue jeans. That was like super common. They just wanted that stuff. And they all had rock bands, underground, illegal rock bands and illegal rock clubs. And they hated communism because it kept them from having fun and getting access to the good stuff. That's why they rebelled. That's why they revolted. They stopped working on their jobs in the factories that they were assigned to by the communists. The soldiers, they walked out of the barracks in 1991, walked out of the barracks, went on strike, refused to serve anymore. They just walked away from it. That's why there were no shots fired against the Soviet people themselves. So, no, all the buildup against the Soviets gave them pretext and justification. The military buildup by the U.S., moving NATO further eastward, building NATO in the first place, putting all those missiles in Eastern Europe, pointed at Moscow, pointed at Leningrad. All that did was give the commissars the justification to build up their own military and repress their own people because the Americans are coming to kill us. We have to regroup. We have to build a fortress. We have to be disciplined. We can't have any dissenters among us because we're being besieged and attacked and threatened existentially by the Americans with their nuclear superpower. Blowback is what you get. Blowback is what you get.
That was a great way
from being Ronald Reagan or Donald Trump. Blowback is what you get from building up the military, building more missiles, going to war against their proxies, all that aggressive forward posturing outside the borders of the United States. Why are we even outside the borders of the United States? That's what you get. You get blowback, you get worse totalitarianism, you get more war, and you get more anti-Americanism. You get more people hating America and wanting to join with the communists and wanting to join with the Islamists because America is seen rightly, because they're killing all their babies, as the great Satan. So instead, just pull back the military, pull back those military bases, pull back the rhetoric, the belligerent rhetoric, and let the rappers send their music out. Let the TV shows go into satellite dishes all around the world. Let tattoo parlors proliferate in Tehran, in Phnom Penh, in Pyongyang, in Beijing. Let Levi Strauss send their blue jeans to every country, which they are. Let the internet free. Let send VPNs by the mass to every country so that they can all enjoy free access to the internet, which you know subverts every authoritarian's wishes. The internet is the greatest political solvent on earth. Give them that. Don't send missiles and bombs and Marines and landing craft and AR-15s. And it's just, it gets you the opposite of what we want. Michael Weimer, I'm disappointed in you.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was a great way of diverting the conversation and framing me as saying something I didn't say. But
I'm sorry. Did I? Yeah. I mean it. Did I really strawman you?
I mean, kind of. I mean, I just reflexively defended Ronald Reagan because he's a great actor, and he's also a Republican who won a 49-state landslide by promising everybody that they'd have a nice wedding where their parents would be proud of them. But I think Trump's cabinet position so far is not necessarily expansionist and not necessarily pro-empire. It's just a show of strength at this point. And again, I think step one, you got to at least make America look strong and functional. And what we would have had with the continuation of a Biden-Harris administration is the belligerent gay communism, where you basically still have neocons in charge, but everybody in the military brass is gay. And yeah.
Well, a black lesbian.
Yeah. And
like the CIA's front person.
Yeah.
On the front of their website. Yeah.
There's no chance that any American will die because we're all too fat and unable to serve. So we're all going to be drone bombing you from home.
No American can march with a rifle anymore. Like that's hard work for a fat person.
Yeah. I think the first step to becoming anti-war is to make Americans feel the burden of war again. And part of that is populating the military with our own sons and daughters and being invested in it. Because if we believe in the military again, we're not going to send our sons and daughters to die for something we don't believe in. And then, then you could start talking about, hey, maybe we should start funding our wars through war bonds again, as opposed to unlimited spending that never gets authorized by Congress. So just make the system as transparent as possible. And I think you might have some real anti-war reforms in practicality.
Well, wait. Transparency is one thing, but you were talking about basically a draft.
Not necessarily a draft yet. I think what's happening first is a big recruiting push from Hegseth, especially.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how they try to attract young American men to serve in the military. It's been video games.
Yeah.
What's that?
But watch the new Top Gun movie.
That's not going to work because that's from my generation. That's a Gen X movie. It's not your generation. They don't get that.
One? Yeah.
The new one. Yeah, no, it's got to be through video games. That's the only way you all think is through video games. You can't think any other way. It's like, no, I'm not joking. I mean, it's like the number of times I've heard references to the boss or the final boss,
Mhm.
you know, like as that's your objective in life. It's amazing. People think through video games now.
Mhm. Oh, and on the
Mhm.
immigration tip, I don't have any of these clips anymore, but there are plenty of time where senators have said, "Hey, we're going to war. We don't have enough people to staff our military. We need these immigrants to come in to fight our wars for us."
Right.
Yeah.
If the if the massive job openings in their companies don't tell them that
Mhm.
immigration's a good thing, when they can't fill up their army ranks to go to war, yeah, they will understand why immigration's awesome for the ruling class. It's good for everybody. That's what's great.
Mhm.
You know, that is what's cool about immigration. It's the only issue. It's the only thing that benefits like the cultural radicals and the big capitalists both. Like cultural radicals, of course, want immigration because we want like diversity and yada yada. But the capitalists love it too because it's cheap labor,
Mhm.
which is why Trump is just dead on that one. Ultimately, he's going to lose on that one.
Hmm.
So, what do you think about deportations? Are you excited? Excited? You want to see a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah.
Mexicans marched over the border, turning you
Uh,
on?
well, I wanted to get we could talk about that. Yeah, Tom Homan and Stephen Miller, both with cabinet positions.
Tom Homan. So apparently, all right. I kind of like the guy,
Mhm.
even though he's a cop, and even though he's like a mass deportation specialist. That's what he.
Yeah.
That's literally that's the comment. That's the correct use of the word now. He has been literally the mass deportation specialist in the United States government for I think 10 to 12 years. He started under Obama.
Yeah.
Obama, remember everybody, Obama deported more people than Trump did. Obama deported more people per year than any other president in American history. And who did he hire to do that dirty, extremely dirty work? Tom Homan. He was hired by Obama to oversee the deportations, which were in the, was it tens of thousands? I'm the one who actually did some of that work. This was so long ago, though. I actually wrote a piece about this, and I remember this was during the Obama administration. Do you remember this? When Obama's numbers were like, just like going crazy? He was deporting the shit out of those Mexicans.
Mhm.
And liberals were very embarrassed by it. But Tom Homan was the guy, and I didn't know this at the time. I now do know. He was the guy overseeing Obama's deportation program, which was immense. The number of people who were, I saw ICE in the airports at the time. I was doing a lot of flying in 2009, 10, 11. And I remember seeing ICE like take down people in airports at LAX, at SFO, at JFK, like on a regular basis. You would see ICE agents going through airports with some like brown dude under their arm. Tom Homan was the guy who oversaw that. Imagine wanting that as your job. But yeah, but that's who we have. So we're going to have mass deportations and war with Iran. That's what we know we're getting from Trump
Mhm.
so far.
Well,
Sounds like a good time.
again, I still think Trump would see a war with Iran as failure. So I don't know. He might. You might be right. I'm warming up to your idea that the hostages will be in exchange, and the strong arming
Yeah.
the end of the war in Israel will be in exchange for some aggression against Iran. That's
Yeah.
starting to look clearer.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about the hostages. Right, that's a good point too. Like,
Yeah.
imagine how awesome Trump's going to look if he stops the war in Gaza and frees the hostages.
Mhm.
You know, in January, which I think could happen January 21st.
Mhm.
But in exchange, the next day, God help the people of Iran. I mean, regardless of what happens, I mean, I think it's pretty clear Iran is getting bombed in January, maybe even before then. But well, they will. But really bombed in January, February, March. I don't know. It's going to be nasty. So deportations. Tom Homan. What's he promising? 10 million?
I don't know in particular. 12 million. Clinton did 12 million, so maybe 12 million is a good place to start.
He did 12. He didn't deport 12
I think
million.
so. Yeah.
No, he did not deport 12 million people. 12 million people. That's double the Holocaust. You guys understand that, right? The cattle cars. That's twice the Holocaust in terms of cattle cars full of people.
You don't think that's accomplishable in that amount of time?
I mean, sure, if we really if we really rallied together as a nation and really got behind this effort, we could do it. We could round up 12 million Mexicans for sure.
I saw somebody claim Clinton did 12 million. I don't know about that.
I'm just thinking about like cattle cars full of gardeners and guys with Raider caps on, and your nanny. Everybody's nanny will be on the cattle cars. The nannies, I mean, America's elite wealthy children will not allow this to happen because that will be their moms on those cattle cars heading back to Mexico City. I'm not joking, man. Every rich kid I've ever known has had a Mexican nanny or a Salvadoran nanny. So what do you want?
I'm certain we will find somebody who is capable of picking the cotton once the slave class.
Are you going to do it? I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
Fuck the cotton, man. I like wearing it. I ain't picking that shit. Wait, who's gonna pick? Wait, exactly who's gonna pick the cotton if not for the immigrants or the blacks? Who's gonna?
Teenagers and prisoners. And
wait, I'm sorry. How many teenagers have you met who want to pick cotton? My son was a teenager recently. I should tell him that. Hey man, you could have a career, you know, move down to the Delta. You could live in a little trailer in the field.
Well, I'm stealing Owen Benjamin's bit on this, but I'm expanding it with Project 2025. Once we make abortion illegally nationally, which is going to happen, there's going to be a nationwide abortion ban. Oh, totally, yeah. That we're not banning abortion. That was a total lie. Us guys are in charge now. Abortion's gone.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wait,
no,
do you mean
I don't actually mean that, but come on, let's have some fun here. A man
I got
can
so
hope,
excited.
Right?
I got so excited. I just want the fight. I want the fight, you know. Yeah. Let's talk about abortion now, because that's huge, central.
Anyways, instead of who gets aborted most often, low-income families, if you know what I mean. Wouldn't it be better, to just buy those children and offer them jobs doing what the illegal immigrants were doing?
Bad people get aborted. What do you mean? Have you not seen the rates in the ghetto? Like how Planned Parenthood does well in the ghetto?
Okay. Regardless of abortion,
Islamists get aborted, and who else? Sorry. Go ahead. What?
Okay. Millions of people get aborted each year. It's a great place to start. Once those babies get born,
people get aborted. People. Yeah. People get aborted. A person gets aborted. Like a whole person comes. Like, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Fetuses. You mean, right?
And
babies? You want to say babies? You want to compromise and say babies?
Let's say babies. Okay, babies.
Compromise. Great. Okay, in between.
Yeah. Since killing babies is apparently the most important thing. Millions of it happen every year. Yeah,
it's true. It's amazing. These Democratic women are like, that's all they care about. And I wonder, what is this, ladies? What is the obsession with your daughter's ability to get an abortion in Mississippi 5 years from now?
Oh, yeah.
No, they all have talked. Yeah. Every one of them has talked about their young. They're always children too. My daughter's 5 years old, and I voted in this election to save her freedoms. You live in San Francisco, so it's like it's about if she moves to South Carolina. So when 10 years from now, when she's in college, she can get an abortion. That's what this is about. That's what this all. Go ahead.
Jokes aside, here's the substantive. I think
it's not a joke. That's real.
Yeah. I think this was Trump winning was great for Democrats like that. I think it was a good moment where it's like the government is not coming here to save you.
Yeah.
And if you care about these things, you're going to need to find non-government solutions to ensure your future. Just like Republicans figured out during COVID, just like Republicans figured out through Ruby Ridge and Waco and all the repression they've had. Now Democrats are going to start getting on the agorism tip. You're going to see more LGBTQ gun clubs, like we're such a fan of. You're going to start seeing, more. Now, I think us Republicans need to look out for this, more participation locally from Democrats. If you live in a red state, you got to vote to make it redder and keep the libtards out. But you're going to see more people thinking locally, acting locally, finding non-governmental solutions, losing hope in the system, and taking more ownership of their lives. Which is, there's this reaction that women are doing that's going viral, the 4B movement.
Oh, yeah,
where we're just not going to have sex with men anymore because they're going to outlaw abortion. That's going to really stick that's going to really stick it to those social conservatives. We're just going to stop fornicating. Then
please, please do. Please boycott sex with me. Please do that forever.
Yeah.
Don't have sex with me. Punish me by not having sex. I beg you. Wow, this is hilarious. All right.
And Matt McDermott just put in the chat, Gavin Newsom is talking about federalism. You have blue state governors talking about resisting the federal government as much as possible through all their means. And California's secession just got a little bit closer with Trump's election.
I'm trying to find it right now. That's why I'm like on my computer. One of my buddies from college, who's just like the dumbest liberals I went to college. I mean, the dumbest liberals I went to college with. And that was his post today.
Yeah.
It was this long post about, he said, over the next 3 months before the inauguration, I'm going to devote all my energies to working locally, to building resistance just in my hometown, among my friends and my family. We're going to build together. We're going to come together locally. We're going to form a block to stop I forget what he said, evil or whatever. Yeah. Damn, dude. You are like a white pill machine tonight.
Yeah.
You're just spitting out the white pills. Just amazing. I want to believe you. I love every attempt at white pilling on this. And you could be right. I think I'm going to say Michael has a 50% chance. Do you guys agree with me? The audience chat, help me out here. I think he's 50%. I think it's 50-50 here. It's going to be Thad black pill, Michael white pill, but I think it's 50-50.
Here's another white pill. Attorney General Matthew Gaetz.
That's dope. That is dope. I do like that. That happened just a few hours ago. I've been a fan of Matt Gaetz forever, even though he's not great on Israel, but I do think he doesn't care that much about Israel either. Everything else, Matt Gaetz is dope. He's my favorite politician. He and Thomas Massey, but like Matt Gaetz co-authored a bill with, I've said this before, with AOC of all people to legalize MDMA, ecstasy, which would have saved my friend Jason from being in prison right now, among other things. But yeah, I mean, no, he's so good. I've been following him for a long time. He's just been right about almost everything and very aggressively smart about it too. As AG is wild because he's really young for that job also. AGs have always been pretty sort of senior statesman types. His podcast is called Firebrand, and that's really his whole thing. Smart dude. He has a massive, not a libertarian streak. I'd say Matt Gaetz is like 90% libertarian. He's really, really good. I'm a big fan. And I hope he fucks shit up. And that's where you're going to see some good stuff. But, it'll be mostly revenge, which is fine. And hopefully that'll have some added benefits of scaring elites from repressing us in the future. But, I think J6ers are going to do well, which is phenomenal because I've been calling for them to be released since the beginning. I think the FBI is in deep shit right now. Wow, I hadn't thought of that. My God, Matt Gaetz is going to be the head of the FBI essentially. Damn. DOJ over Matt Gaetz. Whoa. People in the FBI right now are freaking way out, and they should be.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Gaetz, did he call for even abolishing the FBI? Because a lot of MAGA people did.
Yeah, Vivek did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They won't actually follow through on that, but he is going to take a sledgehammer to that shit. And that's going to be beautiful for everybody who's either left-wing or libertarian, the people I care about. This is going to be a great thing. Matt Gaetz is going to be our warrior, and that's exciting. I do grant that, but I wouldn't trade it for the foreign policy catastrophe. We'll see.
Again,
unless you're right. You might be right. You might be right. 50%. 50%. Chance.
I mean, again, with Harris, you would have had the exact same, like you would have had a much worse foreign policy. And on top of it, it would also be gay.
It would have been fake and gay and bad. And
Mm-hmm.
the other thing is there would have been 100% chance of it happening. Like it would have been completely predictable. Now, with Trump, it's always unpredictable.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're down to a 50% chance. But yeah, it's preferable. You're right.
Yeah. And yeah, you'd also have like the idea of a mandate for that policy. Whereas with Trump, the mandate is on the anti-war side with the public. And I did want to talk about, I mean, the hopes seem to have fallen apart, but the little interaction that Dave Smith had with Donald Trump Jr.
Yeah.
But you have Dave Smith interacting with Don Jr. now. He tweeted,
True.
Yeah, getting Mike Pompeo and Nikki Haley out wasn't enough. We need all the neocons out. Don Jr. retweeted that, amplified 100%. I'm on board with that. So I think, again, Dave Smith boosting his profile, not running for president, and making inroads with the MAGA movement might be the most effective demonstration of power that he could have done and the most effective way of advancing liberty.
Totally. 100%. Super smart take. I hadn't thought of that either. Again, I saw the thing with Dave and Don Jr. and I thought, oh God, how pathetic. And this just shows that we will have no say in the Trump administration whatsoever, that the Trump administration is going to shut down any anti-war voices at all. But you're right. It's the opposite. Is that what this tells us is that, I mean, Don Jr. is Don Jr. and not just his son, but he's
been
very
Don
close.
Jr. It's largely responsible for the JD Vance pick.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. He was the only guy I heard really tooting his horn out there in public. It was him and behind closed doors, Peter Thiel, but really.
I mean, I do worry about his front dentures. They seem to be always falling out. But other than that, he does seem to have a really good, I'm going to use the word again, because nowadays this is all we have to hold on to, libertarian. Like, seems like, right? Don Jr. seems like mostly libertarian.
Yeah.
And that's why he likes Dave. And Don Sr., our next president, also has a libertarian streak for sure. And so I do think, God, please let this happen. I do think Dave Smith, of all fucking people. I remember listening to Dave, this is like 10 years ago, when he just started. He was like in his early 20s. He had just started doing stand-up comedy. And he was like this little libertarian boy at the same time. And I heard him for the first time on some little podcast. And I was thinking, he's a little obnoxious, but he's smart. He's got I don't know. He's just such a little libertarian fanboy guy. I didn't think anything of him. I'm telling you, this is like 12 years ago. I heard him in 2012, I think, on some libertarian podcast. And I thought, this kid, whatever. He won't amount to anything. We are now standing at a point, you're right, where not just it's possible, it's almost definitely the case, I would think, that Donald Trump has heard directly into his ear the ideas espoused by Dave Smith. And by the way, not just Don Jr., but probably J.D. Vance. I'm sure J.D. Vance is a big fan of Dave Smith.
Mm-hmm.
You're right, man. Once again, my humiliation is complete.
There's
You want
one more
to
thing.
you want to take another W? You got 11 more minutes for another W. You could probably get a couple of W's for you. 11 minutes. You can do it.
Colin, well, our listeners really wanted us to react to this. This is Trump's plan on education.
I
can play the video. Yeah.
Show a video of the atomic bomb over Hiroshima. That's what I think should happen.
Okay. Man, my video. Let's see if I can get this to play.
Kaboom.
Come on. My internet's a little too slow to be playing this while streaming. But here's the plan. He says, our secret weapon will be the college accreditation system. Fire the radical left accreditors that have allowed our colleges to become dominated by Marxist maniacs and lunatics. We will then accept applications for new accreditors who will impose real standards on colleges once again. This is like what you've been talking about pretty much ever since, right?
Yes. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
This is who?
This is
Scroll
Trump.
Up. This is himself.
This is Colin Rugg, just like bullet points, but these are all direct quotes of Trump. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Holy smokes. Yeah, no, I know. Okay. All right.
Mm-hmm. It seems like somebody might have listened to your podcasts and gotten in Trump's ear on this one.
It's possible.
How much you've gone? Yeah.
It's me and Neil McCluskey of the Cato Institute are the only two people I've ever been aware of who have made this argument. So it's quite possible. Yeah. No, I mean, I know that there are people around, well, because they've been on my show. There are many people around Trump, even in his cabinet, who are certainly aware of me. And I'm sure have listened. I know have listened to multiple podcasts. And on this issue in particular, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. All right, dude. Fine. Fuck you. You made me. I need another co-host. Anyone want to volunteer? I need someone who agrees with me. Can you guys just... I'm sick of this shit.
Need some pessimism.
I was like, when I was like, this kid's smart. We should have him on the show. I didn't realize that it was. Okay, fine. But like, what?
So,
yeah, help me. Just finish the show. Just talk. Go ahead. I can't do anything anymore. You've destroyed me.
Contrasting this with the potential Biden or Harris administration, which lacks any and all. Yeah,
it's a zero. It would be a zero on this issue. A zero. Like, and there would be like no hope for the future at all on this issue under the Democrats. Of course. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Okay, I'll make a deal. And I mean this. If you turn out to be correct about Trump and foreign policy, that it's good cop, bad cop, that he's putting up these genocidal maniacs in his cabinet as the front, as simply leverage from which to exert his good cop power and say, oh, let's make a deal, Netanyahu and Xi and Putin, and bring peace, which I do think if that does happen, and I think there's about a 50% chance, then I'm not going to, I'm just going to be happy that you were right. So we'll see. 50-50, everybody. We could do a vote in the chat. I do think this is right.
The only way that like this isn't good is if Trump fails spectacularly so much that we get President Gavin Newsom in 2028 with Liz Cheney as his, like, you know what I mean? Like, if we have President Gavin Newsom and even more neocons in 2028, I think that's the only way this is a failure.
Do you understand the logic of that, though? That means that you and I are obligated, and you could be right.
Yeah.
Like in sort of grand historical terms, that we are obligated to support Trump for the next 4 years to stop that from happening.
Could you think of anybody more fun to support? Can you think of any?
I feel like I am trapped in a logic that I don't like. You know what I mean? There's a logical construct here that is pristine and perfect and brilliant and makes absolute sense within itself that you have given to us here. And when you enter that, then you have no choice but to support Donald Trump fully to stop the real fascists led by Gavin Newsom and Liz Cheney from taking power 4 years from now. So, but like, I'm not that kind of guy though, man. I'm more like a dropout kind of dude. I'm more like a on the fringes of society kind of, like counterculture, on the edges, not wanting to be a part of anything. I'm not a joiner. I'm anti-joiner. I don't like institutions. I don't like the state. I want to be like outside and free and independent and not a part of anything, and certainly not a part of a presidential administration. That's what you want to do now?
Do you want to win or not?
with your impeccable impeccable logic. I hate your fucking logic, man. I'm so sick of it. My feelings matter,
Yeah.
Didn't Ben Shapiro say something? He said something about that, right? Michael Weimer. This has been a very challenging episode, I have to say, with you. I think we're okay. I mean, are we okay? Are we still we're okay? Because I don't know, man.
We didn't even get to the best part of the education thing where he says sue the shit out of all these colleges for their discriminating hiring practices and their discriminatory admission standards, and heavily tax and seize the endowments to pay restitution to the victims of their discrimination. This is Gramsciism on the right. This is
dead ass. But no, you're not. You're missing the main point, which is about me. The main thing people need to know is about me here.
Yeah,
this about how good I am. That's what you're missing. So no, really think about this. So I literally stand to gain materially, financially from the Trump administration. Dude is going to sue Occidental College and Willamette University and Columbia University and Barnard College and all of the schools who told me we are firing you because you're white and give me money.
They're going to seize the endowments and pay you back for it.
Seize that endowment and give me the money, and I'm still, because this is how principled I am. I'm still opposing him. Okay? That's pure. That's purity. Okay, that's a pure soul, and you might want to go to church to discuss that.
I think this is why you were getting in fights on Twitter, is this perpetual oppositionism is a
is what?
It's it is Gen X, but that's not what's mainly. But also, it's not for winners. If you want to win, you have to stand for something. Like, I think, I think you like, from your classroom experience, like, if you're discussing something in class, you want to force somebody to at least take a position and defend it, and have some skin in the game, and push towards things being marginally better, and push towards having your influence represented some way. Push to win.
Okay. So
You-
I think it's not at this point a matter of me finding a new co-host. It's really about Michael finding a new co-host because he has now taken over the show. So if you guys want to like help me find a new career or a new show to be on, I'd love to be on. If just let me know, hit me up, Thad at unregisteredpodcast.com. Congratulations, Michael. Enjoy your show. And feel good about being right about everything.
Yeah.
It's good. Indiana is 10-0, and you're right about everything.
You're
right about everything.
Have you ever like
dominating? You're dominating, dude. You're not winning. You're dominating. It's like more than 2 touchdowns per game at this point.
Per game.
On every episode, bro. You're fucking dominating. You're just like dunking. You know what teabagging is in basketball?
Yeah, I know what it is in Halo.
You've been See, what did I say about video games? You fucking people all think about everything through video games.
Mm-hmm.
You've been teabagging me for weeks now. And you just finished. You just teabagged with the dunk in my face on the poster. Why should I? No.
I'm just inviting you to be optimistic and hopeful for the future. That's all.
Does anybody else have a show I can be on? Because I would like to have a show. Anyone have a show? Put it in the chat. Just put the... I don't care how many I don't care how many listeners or viewers you have. I need a show. So, okay. Michael, enjoy Unreported. Fuck, man. Pissed me off. All right. In the best way. Love you, dude. You're amazing. You're so amazing. All right. Oh, Unregistered Live. Yeah. We're going to hang out right now. Zoom meeting with Michael's followers. Michael's people are going to come and probably throw things at me virtually at Unregistered Live, which is our hangout on Zoom after every Unreported. It's the highlight of my week. Michael also enjoys it quite a lot because he gets to win more. Do you have the URL? But you have to be a patron. So only patrons can do this. But the thing about patrons is they're cheap. Only $5 a month. You can be a fucking patron, which I think is, I don't know, man. That's just lame. But anyway, so $5 a month, become a patron and join us at Unregistered Live, which starts in 2 minutes. Patreon.com/unregistered. Join at any level. Hang out. But you know what? Do it anyway, because you need to support the show because Michael needs help because I won't be here anymore. And actually, I take that back. He does not need help because I won't be here anymore. He'll be just fine. So no need to give us any money. No, I don't know. I'm confusing ourselves. All right. Peace.
Peace.
I'm out.
Yeah.
Love you, man. You're amazing.
You too. Take care.